Good morning. Welcome back into Wake Up America. So glad you're with us on this Thursday morning. 7 Republican presidential hopefuls were on stage last night in California for the second GOP debate, and former President frontrunner Donald Trump once again absent from the group, opting instead to hold a rally for automakers in Michigan. Joining us now for reaction and more analysis, the former governor of Arkansas and presidential candidate Mike Huckabee and former White House Communications Director Mercedes Schlapp. It is great to have you back on together. Mercedes, I want to start with you. Are donors flocking to anyone this morning more than they were, say, at this time yesterday morning?
I have to wonder if even the donor class was watching, because it was quite a sleeper of a debate. But, you know, there has been a word that donors are really starting to look at Nikki Haley as the possible next, what do they say, the next Ron DeSantis, let's just say, because it was all going to Ron DeSantis. But the reality is we know this. The donors are not going to decide this race. The mainstream media not going to decide this race. This is about the grassroots activists. This is about the fact that you're seeing Donald Trump dominate in the polls because he's been able to bring in a vast majority of Republicans to his side. And so I think it's a real big challenge, Rob.
Governor, want to know what you make of that. Also, I'm just curious. So last night, debate number 2, we got a long way to go. Ron DeSantis had more to lose going in. Nikki Haley probably had more to gain. Who did a better job?
I think Ron DeSantis had a good night, wasn't a great night. Nobody dominated. Nobody came across looking like they had the gravitas to be president or to beat Donald Trump. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have the capacity to stay in the race. I think several of them did fine. But quite frankly, this whole format is a game show. And it's disgusting. It needs to be stopped. The talking over each other was absolutely childish and clownish. It sometimes resulted in a food fight, but they were fighting with Jell-O instead of something more substantive. And as a result, the voters lose because they can't hear anybody talk. If they really want to fix this, get rid of the moderators, have a timekeeper. The candidates pick the topics, not media people. And then everybody gets exactly the same amount of time on the clock.
Right.
When they talk, their clock starts. When they interrupt, their clock starts yet again. If they attack someone, the person they attack gets to respond, and the time that the response took is taken from the person who did the attack.
Yeah.
We can fix this and make it a legitimate debate, but it doesn't seem like we're going to, and we're going to continue to have these game shows that really don't give a lot of insight into the issues that people genuinely care about.
I agree, Governor. Was there a shift? Was it like this in 2016, 2012, or has Fox made a shift? They've had the first 2 debates.
No, it's always like this.
Okay.
I've been in 27 presidential debates as a candidate on the stage, so I'm speaking from a personal experience. But I even spoke to the RNC back in the spring of this year, went to Chicago, sat down with the debate committee, and I outlined for them what I thought that they could do that would change it. And the most important thing was take the debates away from TV networks. For the TV networks, it's about revenue and ratings. Yeah. You know, I understand that. I truly do. I'm a TV person now. I get that. But this is the RNC's debate. It's not a television-owned debate. And so the purpose of it is to let Republican voters, not the general public, Republican voters look at their candidates and decide, is there someone they would like to vote for?
Yeah.
And you don't get that opportunity in the format we currently have.
Well, I agree with you. And I also think, look, just as somebody who hasn't taken part directly in one of these debates as a politician, when they start going at it, Mercedes, I say let them go. There was a couple times last night where they went to commercial break. Stuart Varney went to commercial when Nikki Haley and Tim Scott were kind of going back and forth. It was civilized. You could understand them, but they were actually debating, which is the whole point. This is not 1960 Kennedy-Nixon anymore, where it's going to be you go for exactly 30 seconds, and then you respond, and then there's 7 people on stage. It's going to be a little bit the Wild West, and then it's up to the moderators to kind of reel them in. I don't think they did a great job again last night. Mercy, we were talking about this last month. I wasn't thrilled with the way the debate was moderated. Do you see someone like, here's an interesting question, and I wrote this down yesterday, and after watching last night, personally, I think there's a chance, despite the logistics. Mercy, do you think that somebody like Glenn Youngkin could now get into this race. Given how poorly this is going, there is no clear number 2 this morning.
Yeah, there's no clear number 2 this morning. That is for sure. And look, I think it's getting a little too late for Governor Youngkin to jump in. He's very focused on this Virginia race, which, as we know, we have elections in November. And in essence, I think for Youngkin, you have to put together a campaign team.
Right.
And a lot of these campaign folks, they've been hired. Little late for Youngkin to jump in. I think he has a very bright future in the next 4 years. But for now, I think these are the candidates I would like to see.
That's a good point. A lot of Youngkin people have already been hired by other candidates.
Yes,
right?
A lot by DeSantis, actually.
Right.
But one quick point here is that I think when you're looking at the fact that they have to figure out those in single digits, those candidates in single digits, quite frankly, at this point, they should drop out.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these candidates. Forget about the candidates that weren't on stage last night, Governor, and I want to get your opinion on this, but I think some of the candidates that were on stage last night could drop out between now and the second debate, which is a little more than 5 weeks away. So we don't have an October debate, the next debate early November. Do you see that happening?
I think it could. The reason a candidate will drop out is because his numbers never move and/or his money dries up. And mostly it's when the money dries up. And quite frankly, the money dries up when you're not getting traction and your numbers aren't moving up. So it will be, let's just use the term, natural selection. It's going to be Darwinistic is how it's going to turn out. When you run out of money, your campaign is over. I can attest to that. I've been there, done that.
Right.
And it's brutal. But that's what happens. And so rather than say, okay, these guys ought to get out, they will. And some of them will sooner than later because their donors look at them and say, you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Except home.
Good points. Governor Mike Huckabee, great to have you back on.